What do you say? What do you know? It's the full Monty Sports Show. It is Sunday, 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 May 23rd, 2021. I am your host, Monty Perez, a.k.a. The Sports Whisperer. You can follow me on social media, on Twitter, MontyJP231, on Facebook, Monty Perez, and on Instagram, Monty Perez 2. Right before we were about to go on the air, the power went out for about a minute. We lost all power. I had to restart everything in the computer. So I want to thank all of you for sticking with us. Got a bunch of texts and emails right away, but we are back. We are ready to go. And I can't be happier with the way this show is going. We are trending number 3 on YouTube. Trending number 3 on YouTube. What does that mean when people ask me what we're trending number 3? Monty, I don't understand the interwebs. That means when you type in sports show, you can clearly see that the full Monty Sports Show was ranked 3, 4th, and 5th this particular week. So please, we want to do this show 5 days a week. The only way we can do that is with your help. So if you're watching this show, please subscribe to the Nuts and Bolts YouTube channel. Subscribe to the Nuts and Bolts YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up for this show. Make sure you like it. Tell one friend, tell one family member. And of course, we will be reaching our goal of doing the show 5 days a week as soon as possible. Now, we have the best guests all across the country, and this week is no exception. In about 10 minutes, we are going to have Orrie Hicks come on, talk to us about everything there is to know about Philadelphia sports. We're also going to have Jack Almeyer join us, talk about Boston sports. And then closing the show like the champion he is, Matt the Hammer Hamilton's going to join us, the producer of Good Morning Football, to talk about the NFL draft, certain teams that he likes and feel improved during the offseason. This NFL season is going to be just super exciting. A lot of teams are very confident, including the Bears, the Chargers. There are teams that have struggled over the years who have definitely improved their team this offseason. And don't forget our bingo drinking card. Don't forget our bingo drinking card. Anytime we say one of these words, take a shot of coffee, take a shot of, whatever you like. It is definitely 5 o'clock somewhere, happy hour. Now, normally we start the show with an opening rant, but since we had technical difficulties, we are not going to do that this morning. We're going to jump right into the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, let's start with the good. Okay? Now, LeBron James hit a 30-foot shot to lift the Lakers over the Golden State Warriors in the playoff game. Now, we live in a society that's divided. We live in a country right now, and I say this all the time. You're entitled to your opinion, and you can believe whatever you want, but you're not entitled to your own set of facts. So I'm going to give you facts. A long time ago, when LeBron James was facing the Detroit Pistons, LeBron James, at the end of game 1 or game 2 in the playoff series when he was with the Cavs, he was double-teamed. He passed the ball to a wide-open guy. The guy missed a three-pointer. And everyone was saying LeBron James is not a clutch basketball player. Everyone was saying that. It's a false narrative. It's a lie. It's not the truth. And here's why. Again, you're entitled to your opinion if you think Kobe Bryant's a better basketball player, if you think Michael Jordan is better than LeBron. I'm not going to argue with you. That's your opinion. But here are the facts regarding LeBron James and being a clutch basketball player. Over the past 25 years, LeBron James has made 99 shots to go ahead or tie a game with under 1 minute left to play. 99 shots. He's 2 behind the legendary Kobe Bryant. 2 behind the legendary Kobe Bryant. Okay? LeBron is going to pass Kobe Bryant on that clutch stat probably this season. Now, LeBron has had 7 game-winning buzzer beaters. 7. Jordan is first. Okay? Jordan is first with 9. Kobe Bryant and Joe Johnson are second with 8. In the playoffs. LeBron has 5 buzzer beaters. 5 buzzer beaters. Look closely. That is more than Jordan. That is more than Kobe. That is more than Magic. That is more than Larry Bird. LeBron James in the playoffs has more buzzer beaters than any other player in the history of the NBA. So don't tell me LeBron James is not clutch. It's a false narrative because, and let me just explain something to you. In that playoff game against Detroit when he was with the Cavs, LeBron made the right decision. He made the right decision, just like Michael Jordan made the right decision when he gave the ball to Steve Kerr and Steve Kerr won it, when he gave the ball to John Paxson and he won it. Don't tell me LeBron James is not clutch, people. Don't tell me LeBron James is not clutch because over the last 25 years, he's only 2 behind Kobe in hitting 99 clutch shots in the last minute of the game, and he'll be number 1 all time. So that's the good, LeBron James. Now let's get to the bad. Look, Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors lost their play-in game. They lost their play-in game. They're out of the playoffs. Ja Morant had 35 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals. He's 21 years old. Steph Curry had 39 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. Ja Morant was the best player on the court. I've seen this time and time again with Steph Curry late in games. Against the Lakers, okay, missed a foul line jump shot, missed a 3 in the last minute of the game, turned the ball over twice. You can't lose that game to the Memphis Grizzlies at home. You can't, Steph Curry. So all you people saying, oh, Steph Curry's the best, he was nowhere to be found in the last minute of the game or the Laker game unless he's turned the ball over. And you lost. You lost to the Memphis Grizzlies at home. Steph Curry is a terrible defender at the end of games. Terrible. That's why they exploit him. They run a pick and roll and make sure whoever not guarding Steph, whoever he's not guarding, he winds up guarding. And he's terrible. Remember, Kyrie Irving hit that game-winning shot when they were down 1-3 in the NBA Finals, 3-1. They were down, and in the 7th game, it was Steph Curry. Ja Morant owned Steph Curry in the last minute of that game. Owned him. So, yes, Steph is an all-time great shooter. He's an all-time great player. But he can only beat you with offense because he's not beating you with defense. LeBron can block a shot. Kawhi Leonard can lock down a player. Steph is a total liability at the end of games. So that's the bad. And now, finally, we're going to move to the ugly. We start each show with the good, the bad, and the ugly. And this, to me, is so disgusting. This, to me, is so disgusting. Tim Tebow has signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tim Tebow was one of the worst professional quarterbacks I've ever seen. Now, don't tell me, Monte, how can you say that? He won a playoff game. Okay, Mr. Butt Fumble himself, Mark Sanchez, went to 2 AFC East championship games. And he's doing podcasts now with Colin Cowherd. And don't tell me that Tim Tebow is getting a bad rap because he's religious. No, he's getting a bad rap because he sucked. That's a fact. Russell Wilson is Mr. Christian, and he lives in a city and a state that is voted one of the least religious places in the country, in Seattle, Washington. And he's idolized. Tim Tebow signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's never played tight end. Why are we doing this? There are 100 college tight ends right now who are better than Tim Tebow. Don't tell me Tim Tebow never got a fair shake. He sucked. Listen to Tebow. The Mets love Tim Tebow. This is his batting average. 194, 226, 231, 220, 273, and 163. And the Mets kept giving him a chance. Tim Tebow, as a quarterback, 47% completion percentage. What are we doing, Jacksonville? And don't tell me they're giving him a chance because Tim Tebow's a great person. My mom's a great person. She's not trying out for the Miami Dolphins. Urban Meyer and Jacksonville Jaguar, are we trying to win games or are we trying to just sell tickets? Because I got news for you. I got news for you. No one thinks Tim Tebow is going to help your football team. You're taking away a roster spot from someone who's busted his ass his whole life to make it into the NFL, and you're giving this guy who's never played tight end a position? That's like Derek Jeter saying after 9 years of not playing, I'm going to come back and I'm going to play catcher. And Derek Jeter is a Hall of Famer. Tim Tebow is not. And Jacksonville, you get what you deserve. This is a media stunt. It's a publicity stunt. I don't know what it is. And if Urban Meyer thinks Tim Tebow's going to help him, then he should be fired immediately. He should be fired immediately. And that is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay, let's get to, yes. Why are you giving Tim Tebow a run on your show? I'm giving Tim Tebow a run on my show because it is disgusting, George. It is listen what Craig. He has the goods on Urban Meyer. There's some sort of blackmail going there. Andrea criticizing my Packer mug that I have right here on the lower left-hand side of my thing. As a matter of fact, let's give this a little turn. Up, it froze. There you go. We give it a turn. All right. We're going to bring on when we come back, we're going to bring on two of our favorite guests. We're going to bring on Jack Almar and Orrie Hicks. They are going to talk Boston sports and Philadelphia sports. We're bringing people together on this show. That normally doesn't happen with Philly and Boston on the same show. When we come back, we will bring them on. You do not want to miss those guys. They are knowledgeable and hilarious. You're watching the full Monte Sports Show live on YouTube. Remember to subscribe to the Nuts and Bolts YouTube channel and give us a thumbs up for this show.
The Team Nuts and Bolts Sports Store is officially open. Log on to www.teamnbsmerch.com and get your t-shirts, hoodies, polos, all sizes available. Once again, log on to teamnbsmerch.com. Get yours today.
All right, guys, how are you today?
Hey. Doing well.
Okay, so I probably picked the worst week to bring you guys together because Boston just won 2 straight games over Philly. I know Orrie's going to have the upper hand here with basketball, but Jack, you got to be pleased with the first 2 games of that series, right?
Yeah, pleased with what I'm seeing from Boston. I got the Paw Sox hat on, repping Bobby Dahlback and all those other guys that have really kind of come out and performed for the Sox. So, love what I've been seeing from them this year. I'm honestly kind of more surprised at, how some of the other AL East teams have lagged, specifically the Yankees. Didn't think that would be, as little of a competition as it looks like, that organization is going to be this season. But definitely surprised by the Red Sox, pleasantly surprised by the Red Sox, and looking forward to this year.
And Orrie, look, gotta love all the Philadelphia gear there. You're sporting and rightly so, the number 1 seed. You got to be confident what's going on, right, with the Sixers right now as they're going to face Washington, and we'll get into that in a minute. But talk about your setup there. You got Iverson, you got Dr. J.
Absolutely. You got to bring out the old schools. Got to bring out Dr. J, one of the greatest Sixers ever, winning that championship in '83. Got to shout out Allen Iverson. The last time we were in the finals in 2001, who, by the way, did take down Kobe Bryant, the great Kobe Bryant from Philadelphia, and Shaq for that one game. Game 2 was close. If Fisher didn't hit that shot, we win that. And if Orrie, who has the same name as myself, didn't hit that shot in game 3, we could have been up 3-0. We really could have been up 3-0, but of course, you're not going to be Shaq and Kobe. But that was just a pipe dream. But yeah, so I'm bringing the that energy, and hopefully, translate that energy to JoJo and Ben, and let's get this back. Let's get to the chip. Let's get back, baby.
I got to be honest. When I sent out the email and the tweet that you guys were coming on, I got a lot of love for you guys. But again, typical of this show, they just make fun of me. I see we're doing the 80s orange shirt. I'm the only host in America who gets ripped on 24/7 by the people in the chat room. All right, Orrie, we're going to start with you. Number 1 seed. Break down the 1-8 matchup. Listen, I'm a little concerned because anytime Westbrook and Beal get on the court, they can put up 50, 60 points. But I see this going 5 games max.
I agree with you. We call it, those 5 games a gentleman's sweep. You're not going to sweep Bradley Beal and a great Westbrook. Beal's injury kind of helps us a little bit. That hamstring, you never know how it's going to flare up. It's going to be physical. It's the playoffs, so they're going to really depend a lot on Westbrook. And is Westbrook going to play the out of control game that he played against Boston, or is he going to play the more controlled game he played against Indiana? And I think he's going to play a little more out of control because he can't stand Joel Embiid. He's going to be hype. He's going to want to take it to Joel Embiid, and that's probably not going to work out well for them. So I honestly believe that we should win this series in 5. We should take the first 2 games at home. Game 3 is going to be tough. I think if we win Game 3, then we're good to go. We'll win Game 5 back here in Philadelphia. So I like the matchup. Washington plays no defense. Okay, so we should be able to score at will on them. Okay, so and we play defense. We're the number 1, I believe, or number 2 rated defensive team. Only thing we suck is on the transition defense. So as long as we can somehow just kind of cut down on that transition defense, I think we'll be fine. And again, I think we should win this series in 5. Being objective, honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Embiid should average 35 and 15. Listen, Jack, competitive for 3 quarters last night.
Yeah.
Obviously Williams blocking shots like he's Dikembe Mutombo last night was impressive. Can you see that the Celtics stretching out the nets for 5 or 6 games, or are you like, hey man, it's going to be an uphill battle?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an uphill battle. And there's, a great internet meme that was kind of going around of the runner who's like on the podium getting his medal, and he's just like flipping out and flipping people off and going nuts. And then you kind of zoom back and you realize he's like 8 down from the actual top of the podium. And so the caption is like, Celtics fans, when Tatum averages 38 and the Nets win 5. So, I mean, like, I think that's kind of fair. I think we're going to look at what Tatum can do in a series and how he responds to all the adversity that he's been dealt with Jaylen Brown being injured, Kemba Walker only very recently kind of regaining form. He's been up and down all year with the different injuries that he's faced. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Tatum specifically can do. Rob Williams throughout the entirety of the season has taken a huge leap. Would still like to see him maybe develop a jumper at some point, but we might be a year away from that. So yeah, I think this is going to be an uphill battle for the C's. Without Jaylen Brown, your second best player, you're not going to make a lot of noise, and you're really paying right now by having to face the Nets for the lack of work he did in the regular season. I mean, you already had to play in the play-in game to begin with. So, this just wasn't a cohesive team this year. They didn't really gel. The addition of Fournier was helpful, and I hope, they can continue to roll with him in the years that come, because I think he's a great scorer, particularly if you can get him in a position where he's coming off the bench and that's your 6th man. But this has been the nightmare season from hell, as Celtics fans have been calling it. So we're really just kind of taking those small positives in it that we can, and maybe looking ahead to next year.
Yeah, listen, there are some positives. And speaking of negatives, 2 shots needed. The host should be audio only. This is what they're saying. I mean, this shirt really offends people. I'm going to put the camera on me because I love this shirt. I think this shirt is styling. I mean, look at this. This is a beautiful shirt. It matches my banner. Come on, guys. All right, enough about me. Let's get back to you guys. Okay, so I think the best off-season addition, and I'm not talking about points, I'm just talking about what a team needed to fill their needs, was when the Philadelphia Sixers acquired Dwight Howard and Danny Green. These 2 guys provide toughness. They're not built for the regular season, but what they do in the postseason, we know Danny Green will go 3 for 13 for 3 straight games, and then he'll hit 5 threes in the 3rd quarter. And Dwight Howard, he just annoys the hell out of people. You have Joel Embiid, who's feisty and gets under your skin, and there's no relief when Dwight Howard comes in. What have they meant, along with Curry, to this team?
Oh, they've meant everything. I mean, first of all, Danny Green leads the NBA in corner 3. So what's going to happen when you double team Joel and we swing that ball around? Danny Green is, and I've said this earlier in your couple of episodes we were on before, Monte, is that Danny Green is going to be the guy that's going to hit a clutch shot. It's going to be at time when the game is in balance. As you said, he'll probably go 3 of 13, but the game is going to be in balance at some point, and you're going to need a clutch shot, and Danny Green is going to hit that shot, and the other team is going to take a timeout. It's going to happen. I'm telling you, I'm predicting this right now. It's going to happen, and it's going to be one of those back-breaking shots. Obviously, Danny Green has won the last 2 NBA championships. He's going for 3 in a row. He's trying to be, get 3.
That's a great point. He won with Toronto. He won with the Lakers. Yeah, 3 straight.
Yeah, and he has a great opportunity to do that. You know what I mean? So, listen, the more rings you get, the more solidified you feel as yourself as an NBA player. Dwight Howard finally got his championship last year. And you're right, he annoys the hell out of people. He led, I think he led the NBA in technicals this year with 16. He got suspended the game before the last game of the season. So as you said, you come in, he's going to play. I think he's going to play a little smarter. You know what I mean? He's going to be aggressive. Hopefully the refs are fair to him. Hopefully they don't call ticky-tack fouls. Hopefully they call, correct playoff fouls. But I just think having that championship pedigree when the game's in balance, when you need a tough shot, when you need a tough rebound, when you need somebody to say, hey, guys, it's going to be okay. You can look at those guys, as long as the head coach who have won championships, to say, okay, I believe what they're saying because they've actually done it when it mattered most.
Yeah, that's a great point. And what I love about the NBA playoffs is trash talking goes to another level. I wish I would have saw it right before I went on the show, but Luka Doncic posted up Patrick Beverly, and he got an N1, and you hear it loud as day. Patrick Beverly fouls him, and Luka looks and goes, "You're too effing small." Like how humiliating as a man when another man says you're too effing small. And why I bring that up is you brought up, Danny Green and Dwight Howard, and again, I know we're not talking about the Dallas Mavericks, but this was in the first minute of the game. The Mavericks are not intimidated by the Clippers at all, and I think bringing those guys in. Like we just said from Philadelphia, there's no intimidation factor. Those guys, nothing phases them. They're going to get under people's skin. They're walking in for the first time in a long time, Philadelphia, with a swagger and a confidence, right?
Absolutely. And I'm actually a little disappointed that the Celtics actually won that game because I wanted revenge. I wanted revenge on you guys. You swept us last year. But it would have been better if Washington would have played Brooklyn because we had KD going up against Westbrook and we could have had our revenges because I think we actually would have needed something like that just to kind of, the Celtics have pretty much owned us in the playoffs throughout our history. I think we won a couple against them, but that would have been like just great, just a great storyline. So set that aside. But I'm a little bit upset about it. I want to pay back. I want to pay back against you guys.
And Orrie, you agree with this, right? Embiid should average 35 and 15 in this series, right? There's no one who could stop him.
No one. There's no one. I mean, he's going to foul all those guys out. They're going to trot in a whole bunch of guys to try to stop him. He should get to the free throw line, Monte, 10 to 15 times a game. Hopefully the referees will call the right plays. If he's getting swiped on the hands and whatnot, he's going there for the rebounds. Give him the call. He has earned those rights. So yeah, I want him at the free throw line over 10 times a game.
Yeah,
Orrie, I got to ask, how are you guys enjoying in Philadelphia legendary Celtics coach Doc Rivers?
hey, listen.
You're welcome.
Even when Jack's down, he's punching up.
I know. That's why I love the Boston Philly rivalry. It's always something. We're always interconnected and whatnot. You know what I mean? And the fact that Tatum could have been a Sixer.
Oh, I know.
Ainge fleeced us. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I don't even know why I brought that up. That just hurts my heart.
All right. So Jack, great comment there. Listen, the Celtics, they're looking at a first round exit. 3 out of the last 4 seasons, they made it to the Eastern Conference Final. Is it time to break this team up? Is it time to get rid of Brad Stevens, Danny Ainge? Because they're regressing. You said it this year. They just didn't have the right chemistry. Has Brad Stevens lost the locker room?
Well, I think that Brad Stevens has a locker room that's just less talented than it has been in years past. Like, I think Gerald Green coming off the bench is probably a better player than Grant Williams. I mean, and him and Semi have become redundant. So I think when it comes to Danny Ainge and all the picks that the Celtics have going to the Nets trade and all those different moves that they did to set themselves up for having Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, that was great. But filling in the roster behind those two guys has been a real issue. And to Orrie's point, I mean, you got Danny Green and Dwight Howard, 2 guys who have been all-stars and in NBA Finals games. So when you are with the Celtics and your Diet Coke version of those 2 guys is like Tristan Thompson and Aaron Naismith, I mean, that's that's your problem there is like the guys around Tatum and Brown just aren't at the talent level of a championship team. And you talk about the Eastern Conference Finals in the past. Well, you made those without Isaiah Thomas, who got hurt the first time, and the second time you did it without Kyrie Irving. So that was a Tatum Horford-led team the second go around, and then like an Avery Bradley-led team, I guess, in the first time against Cleveland. So in both of those instances, you had at least a game that was won. So for me, I need Tatum to go in here and at least win a game. at least, have us remember this season with at least, not getting swept, because that would just be the total nightmare season to be swept by Kyrie Irving's Nets. So,
right, yeah. No, listen, I say this. I mean, Jack, one of the things they got right is I didn't really like him out of college, but he's gotten so much better offensively. Marcus Smart, yeah. he may never make an All-Star game, but he is absolutely tough as nails. And if I have 3 of those guys on my team, I'm loving life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's the guy who does all those little things. And, the classic example of Marcus Smart is that game against the Houston Rockets where he draws 2 offensive fouls on James Harden in inbounds plays with 3 seconds left to bring the Celtics back. So, I mean, it's little things like that you love from Marcus Smart.
And he's become a much better shooter.
Yeah. And I mean, he gets confident to launch up some shots, but at the beginning of this year, he actually said, look, I'm going to try to, make smart shots, or, work on my shot IQ. And I think that's really paid dividends for him because, he can kind of get into a bit of a chucking mode offensively, what he does. But, I'll take that with the defense that he brings because he's, by far the best defender the C's have.
Andrea brings up a good point here, Orrie. Do you think Dwight Howard, because the knock on Howard was he didn't work hard. He learned something with LeBron, but do you think it's almost like he wants to win without LeBron too? Like, can he be more motivated? Because I look at this team, and my question is, I think they're the best team in the East. I had them going to the finals in the beginning of the year. I changed that now. I think the addition of Drew Holiday and PJ Tucker and Chris Middleton now becoming the man. Giannis at the end of the game is a disaster. He turns the ball over. He can't make free throws. Smartly in overtime, they gave the ball to Chris Middleton. Do you feel the Sixers are good enough to win it all?
Yeah, I actually do. I feel very good about it because here's the thing. So first thing we can talk about is the path. Our path to at least get to the Eastern Conference Finals is set up well for us. If we take advantage of it, we should get to this Eastern Conference Final, winning, the first series in 4-5 and the second series in 5-6. I'm telling you, when Brooklyn plays Milwaukee, that's going 7 games. That if they get there, but we're pretty sure they are going to get there. That's going 7 games. That's going to be a hard knockout draw. I mean, it's just going to go crazy. And I think that just that little bit can take away from the energy that one of those teams are going to have to play against us. So Milwaukee, have been the favorites the past couple of years, and they fell short. If they get past Brooklyn, I think they're going to feel very confident against us. But will they have the energy? Will there be anything left, to get there? Because we're going to go at it with them too. Because also we have been, climbing as well. And sometimes, you know what I mean? So it's going to be 2 guys, 2 teams going head to head. Yes. And teams out the West, they're going to battle it out. But one thing we know we got an MVP player that's going to get us 30. We got another guy that can get his shot. That's Tobias Harris. And we got guys that's going to hit shots when you try to double team us. We got Curry, as you brought up earlier. This is Curry's time to shine. The big brother's out. So Mama Curry and the family going to be in Philly like, let's go, baby. Let's go, baby. This is his moment. He wants to take that and run with it. You know what I mean? Like,
and not only that, they're so long defensively, and Thibault comes in, and they're so long defensively, it's going to be hard for them. All right, before we switch to baseball, finally, Jack, what do the Celtics need to do this offseason? You're the gentleman, you're the president. Forget about Danny Ainge. Are you changing the upper management? Are you changing the coach? What are you doing in the draft? What do they need? I look at this team and they need size. I mean, as good as Williams is, they look so small at times against Brooklyn.
Yeah, they need size and they need veterans. So you need to look at your strategy, which was, okay, we hit on our early round picks. That's great. Tatum, Brown, that all worked out. The latter round picks, you were hoping to grab value in and have those guys come in, be 6 men, be role players, and not have to pay them a whole bunch of money because you got them in the draft. Now, that just hasn't worked out. So Grant Williams, Semi, you need to take a hard look at those guys and start to kind of flesh out this bench a little bit better. Lock down Fournier and then bring in, a true center. Tristan Thompson is one, but he's, on the shorter side of those bigger centers. So bring in a guy who, and we see this a lot with the modern NBA, big centers who can step out and knock down a 3.
Shoot the 3, yeah.
Yeah, and B does it, the best do it. So if you can find a guy like that, it might be hard, but bottom line, you need some size and you need to try to retool this second unit so that, you're not having these third quarter letdowns like you did the other night against the Nets, where it's 31 points and now you're out of the game.
Yep. Listen, you sit obviously when they were healthy, you sit Jaylen Brown, you sit Tatum, and the team goes in the tank. They definitely need depth. All right, we're talking with Jack Almer and Orrie Hicks live on the Full Monty Sports Show. We're going to switch to baseball right now. We'll stay with you, Jack. Listen, what do you like about this Boston team? The Yankees have been terrible. Toronto's playing a little bit better. I'm shocked at how good Boston has been, and I'm shocked at how bad the Yankees have been.
Yeah, well, I think we talked about this going into the year, the JD Martinez bounce back season, and that's what we're seeing. He's hitting the ball a lot better and driving it with power after kind of that strange COVID shortened season where you never felt like he really got his bat underneath him. He's come back in a big way. Xander Bogaerts up there is now the best shortstop in baseball, making plays both with his glove and, with his bat. He's a consistent hitter. And then Rafi Devers, I think, has really benefited from having Alex Cora coming back to this team, a guy who in the past he's called like a father figure to him. So when you have a young player like Devers, who I think has in the past, kind of been playing above his station a little bit in that, he's on the younger side, but he's kind of been thrust into a large role with a team that is usually hunting for the playoffs. So to see Devers get his guy back, kind of looking a little bit better defensively at that hot corner, that's all been really, really encouraging to see.
Yeah, no, they've been phenomenal. Now, Orrie, want to talk about the Phillies here battling around 500. Here's the thing. I was talking to my friend Andrea the other day, and we were talking about how when Kawhi Leonard was with the Spurs, he had Tim Duncan was not a talker, but as he became a veteran, he would face the media. Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili. When Kawhi Leonard went to Toronto, he had Danny Green. He had Kyle Lowry, who would talk to the media. Okay, I look at this Phillies team, and I look at Bryce Harper a lot like Kawhi Leonard minus the titles. He's a great player, but can you win with him being your leader? And I say no. Am I wrong with that?
I don't know. I mean, look what he did in Washington. I mean, they were irrelevant as far as I'm concerned until Bryce Harper and obviously Strasburg got there. I felt like his energy, his swag helped turn them into a championship contender. And fortunately for us, well, unfortunately for him, he didn't get a chance. They won literally.
They won when he left.
Yeah. So can you win? I mean, I think you can. I mean, obviously, I think with the Phillies, the overall issues, you got to build around him. You got to have a roster around him. I mean, obviously, this guy is, he's box office. You're going to come to see Bryce Harper. You know what I mean? So the Phillies, probably are more relevant, to be honest, because Bryce Harper's on the team. Nationally, we're going to get more games because Bryce Harper's on the team. We're going to get more coverage. Players are going to probably want to come play with Bryce Harper because he's on the team. I guess if you
Orrie, let me ask you this question, not to interrupt, but is he a good teammate? Because we saw him get into a fight in Washington because he didn't run out of ball. Is he different now that he's in Philly?
Everything I hear, he's a great teammate. They love him. Yeah. This is not that. Now, the guy they got to fight with was Papelbon, who was also in Philly. And Jack, you know about Papelbon. Come on now, like that's not that dude's a little off. So, but yes, everything I hear, he is a great teammate. They love him. I mean, when he got hit a few weeks ago, I mean, Joe Girardi went off. You know what I mean? Like the fans love him. Philadelphia loves him. The team loves him. The city loves him. He has a great support staff. He embraced us right away. So we love Bryce Harper. He came in with the Philly fanatic hat, the shoes and everything. Yeah. Like he really wanted to take on the culture of the city. A lot of players don't do that. I mean, but you could see that he went, he studied, and he was like, man, I love this town. I feel it. And from everything I heard, I have not heard anything about him being a bad teammate. Not at all.
All right, let's move to the NFL. Jack, going to start with you. In my mock draft, I saw this coming a mile away. The Patriots selected Mac Jones. Is he going to start? Because I got to be honest with you. You look at the Patriots now. They had 8 guys who didn't play last year because of COVID. They go out and they get the 2 stud tight ends. Everything is built for Mac Jones to come in and maybe not start right away, but to be a success. Did you like this pick?
Yeah, I like this pick, and I think he was probably the most talented player and the best fit for you at the time that you were picking. I still think Cam Newton will start off this season as a starting quarterback. All indications really point to the reason that he was brought back is to take that next step within the offense. He didn't have a handle on it totally. At least that's what it feels like New England believes, and that he will benefit from another full year with Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick. Now, the other factor in play here is Julio Jones. What's going to happen with Julio Jones? And the latest rumor that's really got Patriots fans excited about their chances of landing Julio is that he really likes Cam Newton. So, he thinks Matt Ryan's lost a step. He likes Cam Newton. So, I mean, if Cam Newton is Julio Jones's guy potentially, then I think you're going to roll with Cam Newton until the reels are really about to fall off. So, give Cam Newton the roll of the dice. Let Mac Jones learn. I like what Mac Jones has for future potential, but I think right now it's going to be Cam Newton's job to lose.
Listen, if you have Julio Jones with these two tight ends and a running game that is desperately wasn't. I think they're underrated because they have a talented backs. That is talk about the Patriots who never had weapons for the past 4 or 5 years, other than little guys like Wes Welker and running over the middle. You're talking about a star-studded offensive lineup in the skill position, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you throw James White in there too, who is just a crazy receiving back. I think the best receiving back in the NFL right now outside of Christian McCaffrey. And then Sony Michel with his, he had a great run as a rookie, kind of has fallen off a little bit over the last couple of years, but looking for him to bounce back. Damian Harris really kind of came out of nowhere and was a huge contributor to this Patriots team last season. So you get that. Maybe had Julio to this mix. Like, that's a loaded offense. And all of a sudden, with the guys you're getting back on defense from those COVID opt-outs that you talked about, this is looking like a much more complete team. And Patriots fans are really excited. This is a totally different franchise than it was 6 months ago. Just absolutely total facelift.
Bill Belichick is really good friends with Nick Saban. He loves those Alabama guys. All right, Orrie, look, what do the Eagles need? They needed speed, right? They go out and get the Heisman Trophy winner and to rejoin his quarterback when they were in Alabama. What did you think about this pick? The Eagles have a lot of holes, but I felt this was a smart move.
Celtics fan, by the way, right there. He's a Celtics fan.
It's funny, real quick, before I get into mine, I was going to say, Jack, how do you feel about, I believe, Nelson Aguilar and the great Green Goblin, Jalen Mills, is now Super Bowl champion from the Philadelphia Eagles on your squad? So,
yeah. I like the little edge that we're getting in Jalen Mills. Absolutely. Bummer that he got that ring then, but, I'm a fan of it. And Aguilar, got roasted in the media a little bit by that guy who caught the baby, but aside from that.
Yeah, unlike Aguilar. Aguilar is what we call it.
That was the guy saving babies, and he's taking a shot. But to credit Aguilar, he actually invited him in the following week or 2 weeks in, and he let the guy sit in the box. So good for him. But go. Yeah. I mean, listen, I think they had to make this move. Yeah. I'm shocked, Smith. One of the things that shocked me is that the offensive lineman from Oregon, my boy Sewell, went 7th, and I was shocked that Smith, they actually had to trade up with the Cowboys, that he was still available, Orrie.
Yeah. I mean, let me tell you. So literally, I had finished a Eagles show in a place that I worked, and I took the train. My wife picked me up, and I'm literally on the phone looking at the draft. And my wife's like, "Oh, you're not talking to me. Something must be on." I'm like, "No, yes." So I'm waiting for this pick, and I heard we traded with the Cowboys, and I'm like, "Oh my God, what did we do? Did we get fleeced?" No, Howie Roseman, please don't screw this up. So we moved up. I'm like, okay, please, just do it right. Just please, just get Smith. And we did. And I was just so happy. I'm like, you know what? We finally got a legit receiver. In my opinion, this is the best drafted receiver, in my opinion, since Deshaun Jackson. So, we got a number one guy. We got a speed guy, Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, it was SEC, played against all tough competition. We finally got a legit receiver, and I expect big things from him. He's gonna turn up, as we say here in Philly.
No, listen, I like the pick. They definitely needed speed. You watched the games last year, and poor Jalen Hurts was kind of like Carson Wentz the last year or two, just trying to make things happen. They had no speed. I think that this provides them with a guy who could go over the middle. A guy, I mean, I saw one catch where he's jumping up. He's just a super athlete. So a great pick. All right, let's talk real quick about the other draft picks. Jack, what did you like about the first 3 picks here in the draft? You have Christian Barmore, defensive tackle, and Ronnie Perkins, edge from Oklahoma.
Yeah, well, Barmore, the Alabama guy, another Bill Belichick, Nick Saban connection, comes out of college as the best Pro Football Focus ranked interior defender. So he's going to be a great addition alongside Lawrence Guy. The Patriots lost Adam Butler over the course of the offseason to the Miami Dolphins. Butler was a great addition to that interior, so you kind of swap him out with Barmore. Ronnie Perkins is going to be huge for the Patriots because they've really needed an edge rusher over the last couple of years. They've been trying to find it. Dietrich Wise has been serviceable. Derek Rivers, who they took a shot at in the early rounds out of Youngstown, just really never could cut it, and so they moved on from him. So they're hoping Perkins is the guy there and can really disrupt plays off the edge.
Jack, can I make the argument right now? And again, that's part of our drinking bingo card. I say that all the time.
Yeah.
Can I make the argument? So everyone take a shot, feel free. But I would not be shocked if he gets 8 sacks this year. Is that overstating it?
No, I don't think so. And I mean, him and Uche and Winovich, I mean, those are 3 young guys that I think are really going to get the opportunity to pin their ears back and go after the quarterback. Belichick likes to put pressure on QBs. He's seen in the past what it can do, what it's done to his own quarterbacks with Tom Brady in those Giants Super Bowls. So he knows, especially from his time being a defensive coordinator with the Giants and coaching LT, just how dangerous a pass rush can be. And having these 3 young guys and, hoping that they can together sort of put a really good mix on opposing quarterbacks.
All right, Orrie, let's get to it. Landon Dickerson. And then you got Milton Williams. Talk about the needs that were filled here in the draft for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, obviously, Dickerson, the offensive lineman, is going to at some point replace the great, in my opinion, Hall of Famer, soon to be Jason Kelsey at center.
Orrie, can you see him? Can you see him being cut in training camp? Can you see them making a trade for him? Because like you said, he's a Hall of Famer, but they're trying to rebuild with youth and sign people. Will you see that happen, or there's no way they do that?
There's no way they do that. I mean, Jason Kelsey, he is a legend here in Philadelphia. Unless he really wants out and wants to get a chance at a ring, he doesn't think he can win it here, which I doubt. He just gave a press conference the other day that they've actually, they believe that they can win this year. They believe they're going to be a lot better in this division than everybody else is saying, because they still believe that they are, if not the best, one of the best offensive lineman teams in the NFL. That is their mentality. So he's going to bring Dickerson in. Obviously, Dickerson, you have to worry about the injury history. He had 2 ACL injuries. He had the ankle injury. And so in Philadelphia, that's a little concerning. But the one thing about I say to my Philadelphia friends and fans is that, okay, you got mad at Howie when he didn't take DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf had injury history.
Yeah.
Now we take a guy who has injury history, and now you're upset about that again. So they can never win. Fans are going to hate picks no matter what. And I talked to a good source of mine. They said, "Or let me tell you, Dickerson, this guy is going to be, if he's healthy, is going to be a nonstop Pro Bowl player and could be Hall of Fame potential." And I said, "Are you serious? Is that hyperbole?" Like, no, I'm serious. I don't say that about every player. So that's how they feel about Dickerson. But 2 ACL injuries, I don't know. He's just an interior lineman. He's just got to stay healthy. How does that happen, Monte? I don't know the history, but do guys who come off injury history as offensive linemen, how do they fare normally, throughout the history of the NFL?
But that's case by case. It all depends on the rehab, the work, how
medical
my
staff.
thing is, like you said, with DK Metcalf, it's not like 20 years ago where you have a knee injury, you're done forever.
Sure.
The advances in medical technology have been amazing. We're talking with Orrie Hicks and Jack Almy. We're going to bring on Matt Hamilton in about a minute, guys. We got a minute left. I want to talk about 2 head coaches. Listen, Bill Belichick has a lot to prove this year. Okay. He doesn't win without Tom Brady. If you go back and look at his record, I picked this picture because he looks disheveled, but he always looks disheveled, right? But this is a make or break year for him, right? He's got something to prove. Yeah,
definitely. And he's got Tom Brady walking into Gillette week 4 on primetime. So, that only adds to all the hype.
What is it, $1,300? The average ticket is $1,300. I saw for that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's for like nosebleeds. So, if you want to sit anywhere close to you can actually see Tommy, you're going to have to pay a little bit more than that. But yeah, this is going to be a big year for Belichick. He's got to rally this Patriots team around the common cause of like, all right, we're better now. We just are. But at the same time, Belichick constantly, he loves to tell his guys, bring it down a notch. After the Patriots kind of came off those 2 Super Bowls at the beginning of the 2000s, he was all around saying like, look, guys, we're not as good as we think we are. And ultimately they were able to bring it together and win the third. But, that's kind of always been Belichick's motto is, bring it down. He does look insane in that picture. That'd be a great mugshot for him. But, he's always about tempering expectations, though I do think, he wants to win. That's what Belichick's always done, wanted to do more than anything. And so this year he's going to be all in and I think really try to go for a playoff spot.
Jack, they're going to be better than most people think. They should win 11 games. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, I don't think so. I think that 11 games is a good kind of goal for them. I think that there's a possibility that they fall short of that, absolutely. But I think if you're looking to be competitive, you're looking to be talked about in, amongst the teams that have a legit shot at going all the way, you need to win at least 11 games. And so that's what, I think the goal should be for the Patriots this year.
Okay, Orrie, this division is an absolute disaster. We know this. But listen, they've made changes. They moved on. You get the offensive coordinator who's now your head coach. What do you expect from this team?
Oh, man. Well, it's a shame. I just don't know enough about Nick Sirianni. I don't know. And it's a shame because the press conferences have been horrible. And it doesn't mean anything, press conference or whatever, as long as you can coach. But,
Listen, Bill Belichick is the worst in press conferences. I mean, just look how he dresses for them. I mean, look at that shirt. It looks like a dog bit that collar.
I know, but I never heard Belichick say, I play rock, paper, scissors against my guys. I want to see how competitive they are. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to live that down. That is going down forever in history. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I just don't know enough.
I'm going to bring on Matt, but there was nothing worse than the Detroit Lions press conference. Yes. So that holds as the word. But, Nick has been pretty bad so far. Yeah.
So they're a young team, the young coaching staff, but they got veterans on the team. So we're in a bad division with veterans on the team. Young coaching staff is going to bring in a lot of energy and whatnot. Eagles will have they got a shot. They got a shot. They got to win a division, but they got a shot.
So you're actually higher on the Eagles than most people are.
Only because of our veteran leadership, if they can stay healthy, and because of the bad division. That's the only reason why. That's it.
Okay. All right.
The NFC least, man.
Yeah, it's terrible. They're going to be one of us. All right, guys, we love having you on. Jack, close us out. How can we follow you? How can we support you? And when it comes to Boston sports and Philly sports, I say this: there's no better 2 guys I want on.
Yeah, I love the rivalry. It's always fun to talk Boston and Philly. 2 great cities, 2 great sports cities. I'm at Jack_Aylmer, AYLMER on Twitter. Give me a follow. I talk all things Boston sports. And then we have the Duck Boat Parade podcast at Duck Boat Parade on Twitter. Give us a follow there. We got Red Sox ticket giveaways, signed memorabilia giveaways from Patriots, Celtics, Bruins, Red Sox players, as well as interviews with all those guys as well. So check us out.
Jack, I say this every time you're on, and I say this to Orrie, and neither one of you guys do this. Please tag me with your podcast so I can retweet it and I can support you. All right, Jack, we'll see you down the road. Love having you on. All right, Orrie, close us out.
Absolutely. You can follow me at Director Orrie on Instagram. You can follow me at Orrie Hicks on Facebook, and come and check us out on our YouTube page, TKO Podcast, Trending with Keisha and Orrie. My co-host, she came back from maternity leave. We just did an episode about this upcoming series against the Washington Wizards. Check us out. So go to our YouTube channel, TKO Podcast, Trending with Keisha and Orrie. And you can follow us anywhere where you find a podcast, TKO Podcast, Trending with Keisha and Orrie. Subscribe, hit that subscribe button right now. Join us, check us out. I even did an episode talking about New York Knicks being, in my opinion, a little overvalued as far as NBA. So you should check that episode. I had some New York friends on the show, so check us out.
And you didn't have me on. Horrible job by you, Orrie. Horrible job.
Listen. I want to, after we get through this, through the series, after we play New York, I'm gonna get you on. We'll talk about that for sure. But they've been chomping at the bit. They've been chomping at the bit to get on the podcast. Like, all right, I got you. Go ahead and bring that New York energy.
I've been getting a lot of heat because I have the Hawks winning the series. I just think they have too much offense, and it's TKO Podcast. Bad job by me. I have not subscribed to it. As soon as the show over, I will subscribe to it. So thank you so much, and we'll see you down the road, Orrie.
Appreciate you. Yes, sir.
All right. Have a great one. That was Orrie Hicks and Jack Aylmer. They do a tremendous job of obviously covering Boston sports and covering Philadelphia sports. Those guys are hilarious. And I love having them on because it's a friendly rivalry. It's respectful. They talk trash, but, it's not mean-spirited at all. This portion of the show is brought to you by Beam Organics. Beam creates the highest quality functioning supplements for better balance, performance, recovery, and sleep. Go to beamorganics.com and check it out. Again, go to beamorganics.com and check it out. Now, we are going to bring on Matt the Hammer Hamilton. Matt, so glad to have you on, and I really appreciate you calling me a legend on Twitter today.
Well, I have to speak the truth. I mean, you're as good as anybody that does it, and you bring the energy every time out. If that's not a legend, I don't know what is.
I really appreciate it, and I'm so thankful for you because I'm going to do something that I haven't done all year, and I'm putting a Detroit Lions background up to make you feel at home. I haven't done this in 16 weeks of doing my NFL show, so this is a first right here.
Well, I'm honored. I'm excited to come on and talk about the new direction the team's headed and, get into everything NFL.
All right, before we get into that, we're talking with Matt Hamilton. He's the producer of Good Morning Football. Let's start with this. Listen, I'm not a fan of the play-in games in the NBA. It almost makes the regular season irrelevant. We see this all the time. People are saying, hey, Monte, we need to have more college football teams in the playoffs. But why, Matt? Why do we need to have it? Every year it's Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State. College basketball, no one watches because they all watch the NCAA tournament. No one is watching the NBA during the regular season because they just watch the playoffs. In your opinion, do we need more playoff teams in the college football playoffs?
I honestly think it would be a good thing for college football to expand the tournament a little bit because, as you said, yes, it's usually Alabama, Clemson, those teams, but to make them go through a little bit of a tougher gauntlet by adding some extra games, I don't think would be the worst thing. And to give some of these other teams a chance, we see, especially a year like this year, I know it was a weird year, but you do see routinely in college football, those blue blood programs get preferential treatment. And some of the teams that have great seasons, like a UCF, for example, that don't have that pedigree, end up getting the short end of the stick when it comes to the playoffs. I think it would be worth it to see those teams get an opportunity to prove themselves so they don't have to, start claiming national championships that aren't theirs. But yeah, I mean, I honestly, I feel, a personal connection to that, even though it was before the college football playoff. Because when I was at Missouri, I was a student coach at Missouri, and in 2007, we went 12-2. We lost to one opponent that year, was Oklahoma. We had the number one ranking going into the Big 12 championship game, and we didn't even get a BCS bowl because they gave preferential treatment to some of those teams. I felt.
Well, yeah, I mean, we know that the SEC always gets preferential treatment. Yeah. We know teams like, they get a bye. I get what you're saying, but my thing is, go ahead.
I was going to say, and LSU won the national championship that year with two losses. One of the losses was to an Arkansas team that we beat the hell out of. So to me, I would have loved to get the chance to compete against that LSU team that year. I feel like we were as good as anybody in the country, and I would have loved to have a playoff then, and I would have loved to, have the opportunity to be included in that playoff, because under the current format, we wouldn't have been.
Matt, Andrea loves Good Morning Football. She was so happy when I told her you were coming on the show. So props to that. And Matt, I coached college basketball my last year coaching. We lost in the Elite Eight. And we lost to the national championship. It was Division III, and I'm still bitter about it. You're still bitter about that Missouri season.
Let it go. It was an incredible season. I wouldn't take anything back, but it does enter your mind. When you really look at it, we were as good as any team in the country that year, and I would have loved the chance to prove it. But
it's so funny because when I watched the NCAA tournament, the last year I coached college basketball was 2004. And during the tournament, one of my former players will always text me, and because we lost to the national champ by 1 point, we got hosed by the refs. But they always say, this is Worcester all over again. Like it's been 15 years and people still haven't gotten over it.
It never leaves you.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
When you compete like that, it always sticks with you. No matter what you do afterwards, no matter how much you win afterwards, no matter what else you do in your career, like those games are always, and those moments are always going to stick with you.
I say this all the time. My last game coaching, I won the state tournament in New Jersey, 11th grade AAU. And I don't even think about that. I always think of the 4 losses I had my last year coaching college. We were 26-4, and I remember every loss. I don't remember the wins. I remember the losses. Listen, let's talk about a team that's always losing, but I think there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm shocked that he went 7th. I had him going number 3. I actually wanted the Jets to take him before they got rid of their quarterback and they decided to go with Justin Fields. But talk about the Lions draft, because it wasn't sexy, Matt, but I really love what they did.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the theme of this team as they rebuild over the next couple of years. I don't think anybody expected Penei Sewell to be there for them. I don't think they expected him to be there whatsoever. I really believe if he wasn't, they would trade down and just try to rack up some more picks to build going forward. But this was a no-brainer for them. This is a guy that they obviously view as a franchise left tackle for the next decade plus. And while there is some risk to him because he hasn't played in a year, the last time we saw him on the field, he was 19 years old. But the athletic traits are off the charts. If he can get the mechanics up on par with his athletic traits, he's going to be absolutely dominant. And I think for Dan Campbell, with what he came in and preached about toughness and what the identity of this team is going to be.
You mean the WWE press conference that he had?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think that press conference, I know a lot of people laughed, and it was funny. I mean, it
was entertaining.
But there is an attitude that he's going to try to set with his team, and the thing about it is it's authentic. It's authentically him. That's who he is. That's how he is. And I think that's why you're going to see players buy into that. It's not like he's trying to put on some big show for the media and for the cameras. He's just being himself. And you see with teams, I always say this, the teams that overachieve and the teams that underachieve, the vast majority of the time, it's because of the play in the trenches.
Right, of course.
When you see these teams with all these skill players that underachieve, really go back and look at their offensive line and look at their defensive line. And it's never sexy to do, but it matters so much. And I think the Lions, are going to build from that foundation and then branch out from there. But they want to solidify that foundation in the trenches first and foremost.
Listen, I know the 49ers lost their quarterback, but they got 2 players injured in the first 2 weeks of the season on defense, on offense. You build from the inside out. And this goes to my next point. If you want Jared Goff to be successful, you have to establish an offensive line. So they got Sewell, they got their center. The Lions were last, or at the bottom. They average 134 yards per rush. So they go out and they draft these 2 houses to clog up the middle. Again, not sexy, but do you like the first 3 picks and what they did?
Yeah, I do. I love it. Again, you got to build that foundation in the trenches first. And Uzurike is a guy that some people had going in the first round. He's a dominant force in the middle. And he's immediately going to make that run defense so much better. And McNeil's another stout player up front for them. So I absolutely love it because, you get a bunch of receivers out there for Jared Goff. It might have been sexy or whatever. But this team still, as you said, there are fundamental flaws and cracks in the foundation. And I absolutely love what they did because this is not a team that was going to turn things around in 1 year.
Right. This is a 3-year project.
Yeah. And they're not kidding themselves and they're not delusional. It tells me that management is committed to their rebuild and doing things the right way. And this is how you start. And you see what you have in Jared Goff. And if he doesn't have it and it's a complete disaster, then you get your quarterback next year and he's going to be in a position where he's actually going to be protected and have quality pieces around him
able to succeed
this season. Yes.
That's a great point. Listen, I think Jared Goff, we've seen it in LA. When he has protection, again, you have Sean McVay, who's supposed to be an offensive genius, so he may lose something with the coaching staff, but when Jared Goff has time, he's pretty effective.
Yeah, and that's something that nobody really talked about with them and their drop-off after they went to the Super Bowl that year. That offensive line took huge hits. Roger Saffold, I think, was such an underrated player. You saw him go to Tennessee and what he was able to, help that offensive line accomplish. They also lost their starting center and John Sullivan from that Super Bowl team. And They had a revolving door at right tackle. Whitworth is 40 years old, and not the same player he was. So, everybody puts the blame on Jared Goff, but that offensive line completely fell apart.
Yes, exactly. All right, we're going to go to our crystal ball since you are an encyclopedia in NFL knowledge. So let's put our little graphic up here for a crystal ball. I'm going to ask you some questions and be as honest as you can. We have a ton of Bears and Jet fans watching. Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, or Trey Lance, who has a better rookie season?
I think it's going to be Justin Fields whenever he does take the field. I don't think he's going to be the week 1 starter, but when he does take the field, I love what they have around him. He's the only one. I mean, I'm assuming also, I think Trey Lance is going to play sporadically, but I think Jimmy G is going to be the starter all year long. So taking him out of the equation, I think that Justin Fields has the best setup around him. He's the only one with a true number 1 receiver in Allen Robinson. I think they've added some nice pieces there. Remember, he gets Tariq Cohen back, who's going to be a nice little weapon for him as well. And Matt Nagy catches a lot of heat. But let's not forget, he's also the guy that really was instrumental in developing Patrick Mahomes. He's from that Kansas City tree. So his system is going to be based on a lot of those concepts that are going to make it easy for Justin Fields to transition from that college spread offense to the NFL. So I think he's set up in a perfect position. And I think we're really going to see, because Nagy was limited in what he could do because of what he had at quarterback. And I think he gets
but Matt, he went 25-13 with Mitchell Trubisky. And if you could do that, you could go 30-10, even though my math is off, with Justin Fields. So my question to you is, what message is Matt Nagy sending the Chicago Bears fans if Andy Dalton is your week 1 starter? Come on, that's not selling tickets.
I know it's not selling tickets, but you want to make the decision that puts Justin Fields in the best position to succeed going forward. And if you don't feel like he's 100% ready and 100% comfortable with the system, to me, it's more about that. Because I think when you put quarterbacks out there too soon and not in the best situation, it sets them up for failure. Like, if you feel Justin Fields is going to need a couple more weeks to get ready, you give him those couple weeks. And I know it's not, you might look at that as mailing in a couple of games. They're still going to be competitive with Dalton. As if they're competitive with Mitchell Trubisky the way that they were, they could be competitive with Andy Dalton.
Look at this. If Andy Dalton starts, there'll be riots in Chicago.
I know there will be, but you have to do what's right by Justin Fields going forward. Remember, I mean, look at the Chiefs. I mean, again, we didn't know that Mahomes was going to turn into what he did, but they sat that man for a whole year behind Alex Smith, and nothing against Alex Smith, but he is as down the middle quarterback as you can find.
Well, I would say Alex Smith is much better than Andy Dalton, though, too, right? I mean, Alex Smith was a better pro.
He's better than Andy Dalton. I don't think he's as much better as people think. I mean, remember when Andy Dalton actually had talent around him in Cincinnati, he had that team in the playoffs every single year. So, I think he is better, but I don't think it's as huge a gap as people think. Because of the way things kind of deteriorated in Cincinnati over the last couple of years. But I'm not for rushing a quarterback. And if Justin Fields shows you he's right and he has a grasp of the offense right away, you play him right away, no question. But if Dalton is out there, that says to me that they don't feel Justin Fields is completely ready. But we are going to see him start at some point this season. I firmly believe that. It's not going to fully be a Mahomes, like, Justin, you're sitting on the bench the whole year. We are going to see Justin Fields at some point this season.
All right, we're talking with Matt Hamilton, the producer of Good Morning Football, live on the Full Monty Sports Show. Make sure you subscribe to the Nuts and Bolts Sports YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up. My friend just texted me, you're spending way too much time on Andy Dalton. I know you want to include everyone, but please stop. So let's move on. Listen, I wasn't as high on Zach Wilson as most people were. And Matt, when did this happen? When did it, just because you had a pro day and you look good, all of a sudden your draft stock goes up? What about the months and years of film? Because a pro day is a controlled environment. You have your wide receivers. You're at home. How did Zach Wilson sky up the charts because of a pro day?
Well, in fairness, it did start a little bit before the pro day. Guys like Chris Sims were jumping on that bandwagon before he made that incredible pro day throw. But
Chris Sims has been high on him from day one. Yes, he has.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, you watch his tape, and it's hard not to come away impressed. The high degree of difficulty throws he makes, the throws he makes on the run. You see why comparisons get made. I don't think he's as physically gifted as either of these two, but you see why there's comparisons made to Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers because of the way that he plays the position. And people want to knock. Yeah, he didn't play against the best defenses in college, but he didn't play with the best talent around him either. So to me, it's kind of a wash. He's fitting balls into tight windows with receivers that aren't creating a lot of separation. And you see the arm talent really flash. I mean, he's as accurate as it gets. And he's got a strong arm too. It's not Mahomes or Rodgers level strong, but it is a strong arm, and the accuracy is off the charts. So I see why people are excited about him. Obviously, there is the risk because we didn't see it at the highest level, and the year before last, he really struggled. So it's really only one good year of tape that you have on him.
Yeah, listen, I look at it a lot like Mark Sanchez. It's like 1 year where he really thrived and was ready. I thought Mark Sanchez came out too early. I'm not saying Wilson came out too early, but two things that I think are going to help Fields, and one thing that may be a negative with Wilson. Fields in his aptitude test had the highest grade ever. It was like 130. Patrick Mahomes was 110. So they're already talking about in the rookie camp, he's telling people where to go. His football IQ is off the charts. Are you concerned with Wilson going from BYU, where basically there's 6 beat reporters, and going to New York, where you have 35, and all of a sudden everything he does, if he goes to the bathroom, if he gets ice cream, there's 20 media reporters. Are you concerned about that?
I'm honestly not. I think when you see his personality, I think he's ready for it. He has an electric personality that people tend to gravitate to. I think he is going to be ready. I don't think it's going to be overwhelming for him. And I do want to touch on your point with Justin Fields, by the way. I mean, we heard all throughout the draft process and the lead up to the draft a lot of negativity around his football IQ. And when you watch him on tape, I mean, it jumps off the charts when you see him go through get to his third and fourth progression.
Third and fourth reads, yeah.
And I don't know where any of that stuff came from, because you watch him and he processes things very quickly. He makes a lot of really good decisions, and the physical skill set is as good as anybody's in this draft. Not just the mobility, but the arm strength. I mean, he's making 60+ yard throws with pressure in his face, falling away. I don't get, unless there's really something that we don't know behind the scenes, I really don't get why he slid as far as he did, because the physical skill set is everything you're looking for in a quarterback in this day and age.
Well, Bears fans are happy, and one of the things I loved about Fields is after they lost 2 years ago to Clemson, him and the entire Ohio State coaching staff in the weight room, in the locker room, all they did was put up how they lost that game. And in the offseason, that was their motivation. And I undersold that because I thought Clemson was just super talented. Dabo Swinney, they had such a chip on their shoulder for losing to Clemson the year before. That was all he talked about in the offseason. And he matured. He's a leader. I think Chicago has an absolute stud. And think about this. If Aaron Rodgers leaves, which we'll get to in a minute, when was the last time the Chicago Bears can say we have the best quarterback in our division?
Sid Luckman.
Right.
Yeah, it's been forever. That's
Kyle Orton didn't exactly thrill people. Jay Cutler. I mean, come on. So, all right, let's move on. Real quickly, you don't think he starts right away, but you think he's going to be an absolute stud in that offensive system with Trey Lance right here with the San Francisco 49ers?
I do. I love the skill set, and from everything I've heard, he just knocked every interview out of the park. He came on Good Morning Football, and we couldn't have been more impressed with how well put together he was. And you saw, you heard about his intelligence all throughout the process. You saw it in that interview. He's going to be a perfect match with Shanahan, with the athleticism, with the arm talent that he has. And sitting for a year is only going to benefit him. I know it drives fans crazy when rookie quarterbacks sit nowadays, but I really think there's a huge benefit to it, because you can work on when you're starting as a rookie day one, you can't work on your mechanics really, because you're in the fire. You have to game plan. You have to be ready, for what the opposing defense is throwing at you. So you can't really work on those things and hone those things. And also just the sitting and absorbing the offense and soaking up everything. It's not the same when you're being thrown into the fire. So, I mean, you saw it benefit. You saw what it did for Patrick Mahomes. I firmly believe he wouldn't have come out and had the first year, the year he did in his first year as a starter. You saw it with Aaron Rodgers. I don't think it's a coincidence. Tom Brady sat
all those years too. Yeah.
You look at a lot of the guys that were really, really, it's not, obviously there are always outliers and exceptions, but I think you see some of the most successful quarterbacks we've seen in this league all sat for a year as rookies. And I think there's something to that.
Listen, Greg brings up a great point. Maybe they scouted the helmet because Ohio State has not produced elite quarterbacks. Yeah. So maybe that was it. All right, let's go back ball here. Want your thoughts right here. Okay. More touchdown passes, my boy Justin Herbert or Josh Allen?
I think I'm still going to have to give the edge to Josh Allen at this point.
Oh, no.
But I think it is going to be a close call. I do expect Herbert to continue making progress this year, but just with the way that offense clicked in Buffalo and with basically everybody coming back, including Brian Daboll, it's hard to get a bet against Josh Allen and that Bills defense Bills offense at this point in the season.
By the way, I had a guest on last week, Marie, who covers the Vikings. Mm-hmm. It's very rare that a trade works for both teams.
It's true.
But the Buffalo Bills getting rid of Stephon Diggs, it wasn't really a trade, and then them getting Justin Jefferson, who's an absolute stud. Both teams benefit. Diggs is phenomenal and the number one option in Buffalo. But Justin Jefferson, if it wasn't for Herbert, he would have won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, it wasn't working for whatever reason, whatever was going on in Minnesota, it wasn't working with Diggs and the Vikings. So to be able to go out and get a receiver that I think is every bit as good as Stephon Diggs is in the draft is a home run. So it is a rare case where it really worked out. It's an A+ deal for both teams. It really was.
Okay, so you're going with Josh Allen here. Can the Saints win 11 games without Drew Brees? Are they going to do quarterback by committee? I don't know what's going on here. I don't know. Can they win 11 games? Because talent-wise on both sides of the ball, the Saints are pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think they absolutely can. And they took a few hits in free agency. They're in absolute cap hell going into the offseason. They were like $90 million over the cap. So they had to make some sacrifices. But I don't think we're going to see quarterback by committee. If all goes according to plan, it's going to be Jameis and Taysom sprinkled in the way we saw with Drew Brees over the past couple of years. But with Jameis, the talent is undeniably there. It's all mental. And we're really going to see that year sitting behind Drew Brees, how much that really benefited him and how much working with Sean Payton is going to benefit him and the laser eye surgery and every other excuse you've heard in the book for how much better he's going to be. It's all going to be hinging on his decision-making and whether or not he can be responsible with the football, because the talent is undeniable, but this is going to be the ultimate experiment. And I'm fascinated to see how it plays out, because if he does get it together mentally, I think the sky's the limit for this team. But it's obviously a huge if.
One of the reasons why I didn't like Jameis coming out of college and why I didn't like him when he was with Tampa is coming out of college, he was second worst in the country in throwing interceptions with the ball that travels over 15 yards or more. So that means he looks at his receiver. He doesn't look off the safety. He didn't learn that because he had so much arm talent. He thought he could get away with it. But I got to give Jameis Winston credit. Something happened in New Orleans when Brees retired. He didn't come up and say, I'm the man now. He was upset. He was crying. He's like, I learned so much from this guy. So maybe he's matured.
Yeah, and that's the thing. He's still incredibly young. What is he, 26 years old?
26, yeah.
Most of these quarterbacks.
So is Mariota.
Yeah, and you see a lot of quarterbacks now really don't come into their own until they get to around 30. Again, I know it's not to say that everybody's going to be like Tom Brady, but look at Tom Brady's until Tom Brady turned 30. He was a very good game manager. And then when he hit 30 was when he became an absolute superstar. You look at those early Super Bowl winning teams, they won, they were a defense first team. they were the number one defense in the league pretty much every year they won the Super Bowl. And not to say that taking away from him, but really look at his progression throughout his career. He really became the Tom Brady that we know today once he hit 30 years old. Same with Peyton Manning, you look at it. So a lot of these quarterbacks, and look at Ryan Tannehill hitting 30 and what he was able to accomplish. So
in all fairness, he had Adam Gase. So let's not, quarterback killer.
Just in general, I think we tend to write some of these quarterbacks off too early, or just say like, this is who this guy is, and just think that he's not going to get better as his career progresses. And, some guys it's not going to happen for, but I think, some of these guys, we're going to see more and more second act revivals out of some of these quarterbacks.
Well, yeah, you bring up a good point, because the problem now is you have Justin Herbert, who had instant success. You have Patrick Mahomes, instant success. You have Kyler Murray, who they're not winning, but he's fun to watch. So everyone wants that instant gratification, but you bring it up, you go down the history, Tom Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, all sat and learned. So we're going to talk a little bit more about teams now. Am I crazy? I wrote an article 3 years ago, one of my first articles for Nuts and Bolts Sports, and people thought I was nuts. I said the Pittsburgh Steelers will not win a Super Bowl for a decade. I look at the AFC North, and I have Cleveland number 1, Ravens 2, and the Steelers 3rd. And if I'm taking a team that you saw what Joe Burrows did last year, Cincinnati appears to be making some good decisions. To me, the Steelers are the 3rd best team in that division.
Yeah, I don't think it's a stretch to say. Their biggest downfall last year, that offensive line fell apart on them, and it got worse this offseason with Villanueva leaving and Pouncey retiring. So they didn't really address that. Yes, I love Damian Harris. He's going to be exciting there, but there's nobody to block for him up front. They tried.
Were you shocked that they went that route? Were you shocked that they picked him instead of an offensive lineman?
I wasn't shocked because the writing was on the wall, but I did think they should go offensive line. I love him. I'm kind of against taking a running back in the first round just on general principle, because there's so much value later. He's a fantastic player. It's not to take away from him at all. But yeah, I mean, that offensive line is a disaster, and it really cost them. Throughout the year, they couldn't run the ball at all. Ben had to drop back 60-something times and didn't have time to throw the ball downfield most of the time either. So it was just a dink and dunk offense with no threat of their run, and it ultimately really caught up with them.
Yeah, I think the Steelers are in trouble. I predicted this like 3 years ago. One of the few I've gotten right. Don't get them all right, but that was definitely on point. All right. You see this right here, Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, you see my background. I'm a huge Packer fan. I got my Packer mug here with my name on it. But I got to be honest with you, Matt. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I get the hell out of Dodge. And here's why. We talked about Stephon Diggs going to Buffalo, right? That they build around Josh Allen. We talked about I talked about Arizona with Kyler Murray getting Hopkins. Aaron Rodgers plays Tom Brady, and their 4th option, Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, they're all making plays. Aaron Rodgers has Devontae Adams. That's it. They never, ever go for skill position players. If I'm him, I leave. Do you think he should? And do you think he will?
I agree with you. I mean, when you really look at it, because people, to counter that argument, they say, oh, well, they had the number 1 offense. They were unstoppable offensively all year. But you're right. When it came down to the NFC Championship game, with the game on the line, in that red zone situation there at the end, they blanketed Devontae, and no one else stepped up and got open.
And one guy dropped the pass, so no one stepped up.
Yeah. So I think, and you're looking at a team. Yes, they've made the NFC Championship 2 years in a row, and they were a play away, but that's the whole point, is they were a couple plays away from beating the Bucs, and they didn't have the players to make those plays.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I agree with you wholeheartly. And this draft was, I think that first round pick was a little bit of a middle finger to Aaron Rodgers going to take a corner instead of a receiver.
This is my whole point. This is my whole point. Like Aaron Rodgers is upset, and let's give Aaron Rodgers credit. He's a master tactician. He did this the day of the draft so they could take, because they drafted Jordan Love, who's basically a practice squad player, all right? And you don't even take a skill position player. You take a defensive back who I had in the mid-second round, not even in the first round.
Yeah, and they eventually went and got a receiver for him in the 3rd round with Amari Rodgers, who I do like, but but it's more about the statement that made, and also seeing other quarterbacks, like the Buccaneers talked to Tom Brady before taking Kyle Trask in the second round. You see all these Kirk Cousins, the Vikings went to Kirk Cousins and talked to him about taking Kellen Mond. And even we had Kyler Murray on our show, and we were asking him, you know, a lot of people have the Cardinals projected to take a receiver in one of the first 2 rounds. Like, is that something you're pushing for? And do you have that relationship with Steve Keim and Cliff Kingsbury? And he said, absolutely. He says, you bring me in here and tell me I'm going to be the face of your franchise for 10 years. I think I deserve the right to have some say in that. And I thought that was a powerful statement for a guy who's only played 2 years in the league, that he has that kind of influence in his own organization. And Aaron Rodgers doesn't. So I think when you look at what's happening elsewhere around the league, I don't blame Aaron Rodgers for being pissed off.
You know, it's amazing. And part of the reason why this is you don't have a figurehead as the owner in Green Bay, because it's owned basically by the community. You know, in Dallas, whatever you want to say about Jerry Jones, he runs the show. We know that the Giants and Pittsburgh for years has had great ownership, right? You may not like the decisions they made recently, but they've had a ton of success. I don't understand why the first and last person you talk to about picking an offensive player is not Aaron Rodgers. Now, look, he's not going to watch hours and hours of film, but he's got to have some sort of feedback and input, no?
You would think so. You would think you'd at least talk to him and consult with him and see, you know, he's not going to say like, oh, have a list of receivers and that he's scouted and has full breakdowns on. But you talk to him and see like, hey, guys, I'd love to get another receiver. If there's one you like here, please grab him for me. Or, you know, like just things like that. It's just general insight into how he'd like this team structured going forward, and you know, just take his opinion into account. Because again, you could say, you know, there are people out there saying he's whiny and he should just do what he's told, but that's not what the game is anymore. You're seeing all these examples of these guys having influence, and you saw Tom Brady you know, just win a Super Bowl doing that in Tampa. And I think that's what's expedited the process for Rodgers, is seeing Brady just get the chance to leave, go do what he wants, have a lot of say in an organization, and go win a Super Bowl year one. I think that has to have expedited this for Rodgers, especially, you know, seeing it up close and personal and losing to him on his home field in an NFC Championship game.
I think Aaron Rodgers has outgrown Green Bay. That happens sometimes. I think LeBron James outgrew Cleveland. So, you know, I think that happens all the time. I hope, and I'm a Packer fan, I hope Aaron Rodgers leaves, and I hope he goes somewhere where he could have a legitimate chance to win a title. And, you know, we saw LeBron James hit the game-winning 3 in the playing game, and my first response was, Jesus Christ, this guy's been in the league for 17, 18 years, and they're still relying on him. I want Aaron Rodgers to get help. I don't want Aaron Rodgers to have to, you know, throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns in an NFC Championship game like John Elway didn't have to do when he won the 2 Super Bowls. All right, and I'm a lot more upset about this than you are, so let's move on. Because, you know, most Packer fans are like, oh, he's got to stay. I'm like, no, he doesn't. He doesn't have to stay. All right, let's move. You agree, right? It's time to move on.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right. Okay, now give us your 2 teams in the AFC and the NFC that had the best offseason.
I think in the AFC, I think the Cleveland Browns knocked it out of the park. A lot of people point to the Clowney move as a big splash. The 2 that I like more, getting Troy Hill and John Johnson from the Rams, because that secondary was a complete liability for them last year. And that was really the one thing that was holding them back. And you saw it in the Chiefs game when Mahomes was out there. They couldn't do anything to slow down that offense. And I mean, you know, a lot of people can't, but we saw it throughout the season with them. They had issues defending the pass. And
plus, I didn't remember this. Sorry to interrupt you. I didn't remember this. Delpit comes back healthy. The safety from LSU. He missed all of last year.
And he's a tremendously talented player. I'm hoping he can get back into form, the form that he was in, you know, earlier in his career at LSU before the injuries started, because he was as good as any college safety I'd seen before the rash of injuries started. So that could be a big shot in the arm as well. But then they go out in the first round and get Greg Newsome, another corner in that to add to that secondary. So they're absolutely, from what was a complete liability in that secondary, I think is now going to be a strength. And they were able to transform that in one off season, and also getting Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah, who a lot of people think is a first round talent, slid to the second round because of some injuries, but he's as athletic a linebacker as you can find. He's as good in coverage as any linebacker you're going to find. And, I go back to that AFC divisional game where Travis Kelce just did whatever he wanted to that defense, absolutely embarrassed them. We're going to see it in week 1. They get Kelce again, and I think the rookie is going to have is going to be a huge factor there, whether or not he can stick with Kelce. That's a matchup I'm really going to be paying attention to there. And the other team in the AFC I would pick is New England. I think they knocked it out of the park in free agency. I mean, they just strengthened their roster top to bottom. They added a lot of depth. They getting Trent Brown back for that offensive line is massive. Getting the tight ends is huge. A pass rusher of the caliber of Matthew Judon is going to be fantastic.
So and remember, they had 8 guys who opted out. They had 8 guys who opted out because of COVID.
Exactly. And the quarterback situation's a wild card there, and obviously is going to be a huge determining factor in just how successful they are. But everybody's so quick to want to bury the New England Patriots, but I wouldn't do that prematurely.
No, I wouldn't either. And again, someone reminding us that my bingo drinking card, we said LeBron James again, take a shot wherever you are, enjoy yourself. Listen, Matt, I got to be honest here. We're talking about, everyone talks about the linebacker from Notre Dame, and people say, oh, he's undersized. But in a passing league, and I think Jimmy Johnson did a great job of this with getting undersized linebackers who just went sideline to sideline. Can I make the argument that he could have 80 tackles this year for the Cleveland Browns?
Yeah, and again, he's going to be – I think they got him – in large part because of what he can do in coverage, because you're seeing teams most of the time now, teams are passing on over 60% between 60 and 70% of downs. So you want a guy out there that can cover. And that's his strong suit. And you're right. I mean, these offenses are all geared towards the passing game. Offensive skill players are getting smaller and smaller. And when you have the type of speed that he has, he can beat blocks just based off his speed. And they have a strong defensive line in front of him, too, which is going to help free him up to make more plays.
It's interesting because one of my brother's favorite linebackers, and I'm sure you know him well from Detroit, was Chris Spielman or Zach Thomas from the Miami Dolphins, who were tackling machines. But they might not be able to play on third down in today's NFL.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. You need to be able to cover as a linebacker now. It's as paramount a skill as anything else.
Okay, Matt, final question here, then we'll get to how we can follow and support you. Give us the best division in football next year. I think if Denver makes the deal for Aaron Rodgers, I think this division is just going to be insane. What's your most competitive division in football next year?
Yeah, if that happens, I agree. But as of right now, as of May 23rd, I'm going to have to say the NFC West. I think legitimately all 4 of those teams can win that division this year. The Niners are going to be back, assuming they can stay healthy. I think the Cardinals are going to take a big step forward. Seattle's the one team that's kind of stagnant. I think all 3 of the other, but they're still going to be right in the mix with Russell Wilson. And the other 3 teams all got better. So there's going to be a really good team from that division that's going to be left out of the playoffs.
All right, Matt, as someone who's followed the Lions, talk to me about what you expect from Matthew Stafford out in L.A. Are we talking 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns? Is he going to thrive, or is he on the back 9 of his career? Or do you think McVay revitalizes him?
I think he should thrive if he's healthy. This is such a quarterback-friendly system, and he's still got the talent. He's still got the ability. I got the chance when I was a scouting intern in Detroit to be around him and Calvin Johnson back in 2013 and just see the things that they were able to do in practice, let alone the games, are just absurd. But you put him with Sean McVay, he's going to take advantage. He's still got that athleticism when you move him around outside the pocket. McVay's going to take advantage of that. And he's just going to make things easier on him. That scheme just makes everything so much easier for the quarterback because the reads are so clearly defined with all the motion they do and all the pre-snap stuff they do. So I do expect him to thrive this year. I really do. And I do expect them to be in contention for a Super Bowl.
And you're saying that Jimmy G starts at least 10 games this year?
Yeah, I do believe, if not the whole season, because I think he's still very much capable. The only thing that's really held him back is injuries. And yes, when he's been healthy, he isn't an elite quarterback, but he's good. And he brought this team to a Super Bowl a year ago. You know, it's not like you can totally write him off. If he's able to stay healthy, I don't necessarily think that Trey Lance gives you a better chance to contend this year. We haven't seen a rookie quarterback take his team to the Super Bowl yet. I think with a healthy Jimmy G, the Niners can go back to the Super Bowl.
You know, it's funny. My dad was watching the Met game the other day, and they lost in the 9th inning on a walk-off home run. And I go, Dad, it's one game. And he's like, yeah, but it can mean this. Think about this. If Jimmy G hits that wide receiver on that 3rd down in the Super Bowl and they score a touchdown, game's over. They probably don't. One play has changed Kyle Shanahan's thinking about his quarterback. I don't think he has faith in him. You think he still does?
I think he still does to an extent. I think what's really shaken the confidence in him more than anything is the fact that he hasn't been able to stay on the field. You know, and in his time in San Francisco, there was really only 1 year he was able to stay healthy. And I think they know what the ceiling is. I think they know they can be good with him, but I think they believe they can be great if you get a quarterback in there that has more athletic talent, which is what Trey Lance brings to the table.
All right, Matt, we love having you on. Tell us how we can follow you. Tell us about your show for people who are not diehard football fans, which most people are who watch this show. But how can we follow and support you?
You can check us out every morning on NFL Network, Good Morning Football, 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern. Also re-airs from 11 to 1 in case you miss it the first time around. You can also follow me on Twitter at MattHamilton25, on Instagram at MattHamilton25. And I also have to throw this in there. So Knicks.
Matt, I'm a diehard Knicks fan. I have the Knicks losing to Atlanta because I think Atlanta has way too much scoring. Here's the problem with the Knicks. They're a typical Tom Thibodeau team. They have 2 guys who can score in R.J. Barrett and Julius Randle. And I said this, I think, 2 weeks ago on the show. I remember Dwayne Wade's last year in Miami. He drops 35, I think, in game 2, and they win. And he's like, this is what I do. This is what I do. And then the next 3 games, he scored 30 points combined. Derrick Rose is in that same mode. Derrick Rose can get you 28 and 10 assists and 5 rebounds, but he can't do it every night. You look at this Atlanta team. Clint Capella's the 5th option. He's averaging 15 and 14. They have Lou Williams, if he's not going to the strip club getting buffalo wings, he can score. They have Danilo Gallinari. They have a ton of scorers. The Knicks just can't compete with them with the scoring.
No, you're right. It's going to be a tough matchup. But I love how well coached this Knicks team is, how well they play together, how well they play defense, and you know, I just think with what Coach Thibodeau has been able to do, it's hard not to be excited about this Knicks team. I don't expect them to win an NBA championship this year.
But Matt, this is the same thing he always does. He gets 2 guys who could score, and he wants to win games 90 to 85. It works during the regular season. It works for 2 or 3 years, but this is an offensive league. I'm not saying the Knicks can't beat Atlanta. And when I was writing the article, I'm like, I can't believe I'm going this way. But I've been on the Trae Young bandwagon from day one. At this point of his career, he's better than Steph Curry. Curry didn't average 25 points a year till his 5th season.
Sure. Yeah, no, he's fantastic.
The Hawks don't scare you at all?
Oh, of course they scare me. And you know, it's hard to have full confidence in the Knicks after what we've been through for the past 20 years. But I don't know. This is the most likable Knicks team and easiest Knicks team to root for since that 98-99 team. And, it's hard not to feel positive about them.
No, I thought Thibodeau should have won Coach of the Year. You can't argue that Monte Williams had it. But the final thing I'll say about this Knicks team here is I think up until John Morant's performance against Golden State, I said R.J. Barrett has had a better second year than John Morant. R.J. Barrett has proven he's not great at anything, but he's good at a lot of things.
Yeah, and
I'm not hating on the Knicks. I'm a Knicks fan.
He's also still only 20 years old. So there's time for him to get great at certain things. I mean, look at Julius Randle, coming into his own now in his 8th season in the NBA. So, I don't think RJ Barrett's a finished product yet by any means, and he's already a very good player. So it's hard. It's hard not to be excited about the future.
Two final things. One of the things I loved about Thibodeau, and he has evolved, because if someone took a bad shot, he would take them out right away. He's letting people like R.J. Barrett and Julius Randle make mistakes and stay on the floor. And I like Kristaps Porzingis. He's a nice player, but he's not a number one option. Julius Randle for Kristaps Porzingis was one of the smartest things the Knicks have ever done. And that's not to knock Porzingis. He's 20-9 who can shoot the three, but Julius Randle has been phenomenal.
Yeah, he has, and he's also been a leader, and I don't think Porzingis would have been that either. From the way things were going with him and his attitude and the way he was talking in public towards the end, I have to be honest, that wasn't a guy I wanted leading my team going forward. I think it was the right timing to move on with everything going on around him, and I think that's why Knicks fans have embraced Julius Randle so much too, is because he's taken this team on his shoulders.
He's New York tough too. He's New York tough.
Yeah, he's the guy you want leading this team going forward. So I think that's
is that an Robinson jersey, Nate Robinson jersey you have?
It is. Oh, you're gonna die.
What's this?
It's a Walter McCarty jersey.
Okay. You have the Detroit Lions, the Jacksonville Jaguars adopted you. You have the stranger. Why are you rooting from the Knicks, and why do you have that jersey?
I have a lot of really random basketball jerseys that I've collected over the years, but I grew up.
I think that might be the only one sold, by the way.
It might be, but yeah, no, I grew up a diehard Knicks fan, so I have like every '90s and early 2000s Knicks jersey.
My favorite player was the guy from Syracuse, Wallace, when the Knicks drafted him. He didn't play much, but I love John Wallace. Yeah, listen, you go through the '90s Knicks. That was Andrea's favorite team, but they were just they can never score. Like, I remember watching the Houston versus the Knicks. It was like 84-80. It was so ugly to watch with Derek Harper, Doc Rivers, even John Starks, who was a decent scorer. Anthony Mason, I think, has a career average of 13 points a game. So they couldn't score those Knicks teams.
Yeah, that was always the Achilles heel. But yeah, I mean, I'll take those teams any day of the week over what we've had the last.
All right, final question. So. The most iconic moment. There's three. Allen Houston getting that game-winning shot against Miami when it went up and went back in. Larry Johnson's 4-point play. Hubert Davis or John Starks the dunk, which really wasn't over Jordan, but everyone said, what's your most iconic play in New York Knicks history?
It's the Larry Johnson 4-point play to me. I was always an LJ guy. He was my favorite Knick growing up, and that moment was just I've never seen the Garden like that before. I had never seen the Garden like that before. I haven't seen it like it since. That was just such an explosive, electric play. And I actually have I haven't moved it into my new place yet, but I have a signed picture of the LJ 4-point play.
Oh, really? Where'd you get that from?
I got it from Steiner Sports a few years ago.
Listen, that's an instant collector's item, right? I mean, that's got to be worth so much. That's amazing you got that. Did you get that right after, or you got it recently?
No, I got it pretty recently. I got it like 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah, that's one of my favorite things in my collection, and that moment will always stand out to me. Although the Allen Houston one was good too. I remember where I was actually at a Yankee game that day. I was in the car with my dad on the way back, and we were listening to it on the radio, and they made it sound like he missed the shot. I'll never forget it. It's off the front rim, and we all like got so upset. And then he goes, and in, and everybody exploded and went crazy. So.
You know what's so funny? They were actually thinking if Jeff Van Gundy, because they were the 8th seed, right? And Miami was the number 1. If Jeff Van Gundy lose that game because he took over, I believe, for Don Nelson midway through that year, he would have been gone. Talk about a game and they make the run. And here is the iconic Larry Johnson 4-point play right here. Look at the Garden going nuts. That was insane. Chris Childs was the point guard. Remember him?
Yeah.
We're just having Nick flashbacks right there. That is great. All right, Matt, again, how can we follow you? How can we support you? Tell us one more time about your show.
Good Morning Football, 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern on NFL Network, Monday through Friday. And you can follow me on Twitter at MattHamilton25.
All right, Matt. And look, Brandon Jackson was on. Great performance by BJ. And listen, you have any pull, get me on to talk about Jets. You called me the legend. Let me come on that show, and I will rock the house. I'm just letting you know.
I'll make some phone calls. I'll see what we can do.
Listen, Matt, you're the guy. So if you call yourself, say, hey, you don't need to call anybody. You run the show there.
Hey, I'm low on the totem pole still.
Matt, you may be low on the totem pole, but you are a star on this show. You're a football encyclopedia. We love having you on. We'll see you down the road.
No, thanks for having me on, Monte. You're the best. The show is awesome. I love it.
Thanks so much, Matt. Love having you on. Take care. That was Matt Hamilton. I want to thank all the guests on my show. Orrie Hicks, Jack Almier, Matt Hamilton. I want to thank the guests. And this is my extra point. It'll be real quick since we were running late because we started the show late because we had some technical difficulties. Look, I watch a lot of YouTube shows. I do. That's all I do during the week. I try to support my friends. I try to support people on the show. And I watch shows all across the country. And I got to tell you, none of the shows that I watch has the passion and the fan base that I have. The comments that come, whether it's Andrea, Greg, numerous people, the comments that I have and the chat room, it really gets me juiced up throughout the show. You guys are part of the show, whether you're a guest, whether you're commenting. And again, listen, neither of you are live. Willis Reed Willis Reed coming out of the tarmac, limping. Yes, that was a great moment in 1973. Greg, you hit it on the point. But my point is, I can't thank you guys enough for really making this show as popular as it is. I can't thank you enough because, like I said, I watch shows all week. And the chats that you guys do really makes the show fun, really gets me jazzed up. So keep it coming. Thank you. We will be live Tuesday with the Nuts and Bolts Sports Crew. We're going to break down everything that is going on in the NBA, breaking down everything. Tuesday, 8 p.m. Check us out. And in the immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back.
The Team Nuts and Bolts Sports Store is officially open. Log on to www.teamnbsmerch.com and get your t-shirts, hoodies, polos, all sizes available. Once again, log on to teamnbsmerch.com. Get yours today.